Some women are simply born rich, confident, and naturally magnetic to their desires. Let's be clear, this podcast is not for them. However, if you're a soul-driven, visionary, or entrepreneurial woman who's been on a mission to learn how to create a better future bursting to come out of you, welcome to my world. I'm Jo Warwick, and this is Rich, Sexy, and Free. I've dedicated most of my career to helping women get to their core power and unlock the missing pieces for their own unique success. You may already know me as the author of The Big Book of Love. With 30 years experience in psychology, embodiment, manifesting, and energetics, we will be exploring together the keys to becoming rich, sexy, and free. So if this excites you, don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite platform so you can stay up to date with the podcast. Welcome to today's episode of Rich, Sexy and Free. And I'm really excited we have February's panel with us today. And today's subject is all about self-value and bringing that into your life, your business, how you kind of showing up in a new way of self-value. So I'm really happy to welcome with me, we've got Roxy Rimmer, Rebecca Housley, and Heidi Diercks. And I'm going to allow them to all introduce themselves to you first.
Hi, I'm Heidi Diercks. I'm founder of Heidi's Advent Living. I'm a life coach that works with women who want more in life. I'm a divorcee, mother of 4, retired teacher, and a Jill of all trades.
I'm Roxy Rimmer. I'm the founder of Hearts to Headlines, which focuses on turning your heart, your passion, your drive into headline-worthy material through logo logistics, color, branding, all of the above, right? And in addition to that, I am a advertising professional. So I have a lot of background in what makes brands work, what their success stories are. And I've been working on bringing that to entrepreneurs and nonprofits so that their brands could also thrive.
I'm Rebecca Housley, and I am a best-selling author on Amazon. I have travel books that are different escapes that you can plan. And I also am the founder of Transformative Escapes, which is how to utilize the power of medical tourism to transform your health, your body, and live your best life.
What we have is a beautiful collection of women at all different stages, and also how you're showing up with that value into your business and into your life. And I know you all have amazing backstories. So let's dive in and find out, what was the transformative moment for you of bringing self-value at a new level into your business? Maybe it instigated your business, or maybe it took your business to a new level. So what was that pivotal moment for you?
I'm happy to jump in and kick things off. So for me, I launched Hearts to Headlines at the beginning of 2024. And I had a partner for a little bit at the beginning. She actually found me and wanted to get involved with what I'm working on. And we started to build something really beautiful together. But then one day, her health was failing her and she had to step out, which is completely understandable. But at the same time, all of a sudden, I looked at my business and I thought, oh, shoot, this doesn't reflect what I went into business for at all. This has turned into someone else's vision. This was no longer what I had set forth to help entrepreneurs, to help nonprofits to achieve. This was her vision. And once I had the responsibility to keep it running, I was like, oh, I can't even do this because I'm not the expert in all of this content. So from that moment forward, it felt like a very harsh breakup where I was like, I have to reassess, I have to readjust, and I have to put myself into my work and kind of rebuild what I've started here. So I started essentially from the ground up, undid the things that I had already put so much time and energy into doing, and made sure that I was showing up in my brand, that I was present and giving the time and the energy needed to make sure that my vision was in the work that I was doing. That breakup essentially was this pivotal moment in my career.
Amazing. So just like any relationship where you realize you've maybe disappeared and actually need to bring yourself to the forefront again of what you want out of your life and out of your business. I love that. That happens, doesn't it? When we do any sort of relationship or partnership, if we're not, sometimes it's a growth point and sometimes it's I've just repeated a pattern. So I need to do this differently. Would you agree, Heidi? Is that something that resonates with you in your journey of that shifting into your self-value?
Definitely. Throughout my life, I've been a mother and a teacher, and I put everybody else first. And there'd be times when I'd be in a season where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make myself a priority, and I'd start to work, but it always, life got in the way. And then a couple of years ago with the divorce and career change as well, I explored some manufacturing and I'm currently doing insurance, but I still felt this calling. Uh, After going through the divorce, I went to counseling and also did then a divorce coach, work with a divorce coach. And that really helped me, like, you know what? That's what I want to do. Not quite that same exact thing, but I want to help other women and people deal with the life changes and find their true purpose and their true passion that they are excited about and want to live their life to the fullest.
So you found that you disappeared when you were in your marriage, that you'd lost yourself being a mother and being in the marriage?
And teaching too. My time was all consumed with, if I wasn't work with my kids, and I was grading papers, I was planning. It was a constant and no time for the marriage or myself.
Rebecca, what about you? What was the pivotal moment? Because I know your trips, there's such an element to these transformative medical transformations. So what was the pivotal moment for you?
So for me, what really transformed my travel business, because like I said, I'm a travel writer, and then I do private tours for people as well. And also I book a lot of travel for people, and I've been doing that. But what really clicked in my head was I had a friend that was diagnosed with a chronic illness. And really, the doctors weren't giving them much hope, just manage the symptoms sort of thing. And so I, as a person who loves research, and I think that's one of the reasons why I do what I do as far as booking travel, is I just started finding out what the alternatives were to medicine. What can you find outside of the US? And I landed on medical tourism and just found this whole world that opened up to me, and met so many physicians, nurses, practitioners, people that are on the cutting edge of medicine right now. And they're not just trying to manage the symptoms, they're actually trying to cure chronic diseases. And so that's something that really excited me, and was the reason why I wrote my latest book, Transformative Escapes, so that I could show other people, hey, you don't have to just sit there and live with your chronic illness. You can actually choose to do something about it.
Absolutely. And I'm aware that there is your own story in that, though, of how you use these transformative escapes for yourself.
Absolutely. So when I was 16, I was diagnosed with a ovarian tumor. It was actually attached to my left ovary, and it was very extremely large. It was like almost 9 pounds. And so they had to literally cut me from my breastbone all the way down. And I had this horrible scar. And after multiple pregnancies and all of that, it just ruined my body. It just was awful. And I really couldn't look at myself in the mirror at all. I couldn't stand myself in the mirror. And I decided I got to do something about that. And it's the same thing with chronic illness, right? People get used to living with it. And at some point, you have to say, no, it's not okay. I'm not going to live with this anymore. I'm actually going to transform and do something and take charge and build the life that I want to live.
I think that's just a message for everybody, isn't it? That's from all angles of what you do. Can I ask, when you did your transformation, how did you feel about your body?
Amazing. Finally, I was like, this is the body I was meant to have when I was 16 and I was starving myself and I was working out a million times a day. And I always wanted that magazine body and I strived for it. And I had this tummy, right? That I could never get rid of. And my mom was like, you just take after your grandmother. She always had a big stomach. And it was like, and then finally I asked my mom, I'm like, can I, go to the gynecologist? Because I was having a lot of trouble. And so she reluctantly took me. And when the doctor came out and said, excuse me, ma'am, your daughter, we need to see you in the back. Your daughter is very ill. She was shocked. She said, no, you have the wrong person. Like she did not believe it at all. And then I had to have surgery and all of that. It was just things happen, obviously, for a reason. And sometimes you don't get to realize the body that you want until you're in your 50s, apparently.
This was such a great message in that. It's not too late. And yeah. I think, as you're saying, there are many levels of self-value. It's whether it's an internal, emotional, it's mental, but also there's nothing wrong with the physical, whether that's about taking care of yourself. Maybe it's the way that you're showing up in the colors that you're wearing, the dressing, etc. But also there comes a point. It's like deciding I'm going to go into therapy, or do I need to do some sort of medical transformation? And sometimes that is for chronic illness. But also, this was a repair job of something that was so shocking and traumatic to your body. So that it's giving you a liberation. So I love that. I love
Absolutely.
that. And with that in mind, Roxy, can you share with us, because I know colour is a big part of your work and your understanding of colour theory. So how would that improve someone's self-value, both in their business and in their life?
Absolutely. For our viewers on YouTube, you can see the colors that I chose to wear here today. And we can see that Joe is repping the bright blue as well. So you might have seen one of my talks or something there. But basically, the colors we wear, we know that because of the psychology of colors, the colors evoke emotion. So if we can harness what emotions we're alluding to, we can influence those around us. And what that means for self-value is that we know that we are positively influencing those around us intentionally. We pick, we decide. So when you wear a neutral color or a dark color, you're giving off a different vibe than someone who is using a bright green or a light blue. So if we know what colors we're wearing and what we're influencing on other people, it gives us that sense of confidence that it's helping us, that it's assuring that our message is received. And that helps in our personal life when we're interviewing or we're having a conversation with someone and we want a certain outcome. We want them to see us a certain way. We want them to feel like they can trust us or that they can learn from us. And there are colors that do that better than other colors. So finding the color that works for you, I tend to call it your confidence color, is giving you that assurance that you are making a bigger impact than just the words you say.
And I like that. And just to be clear, so it's something that I feel confident in. So I'm not wearing a colour just to make someone else have an impression on me. It's a colour that I feel confident in and at my best, and being aware that colour has a message as well, because sometimes I can feel so sexy in black with red lipstick. This is a sexual color for me. This is a very like bomb power woman. That can feel like that moment. But blue for me is probably my more natural state. I have pale blues, I have pretty blues, I probably also pinks. I really like a pink. I have green eyes and I love green, but I don't wear a lot of it, interestingly. I'd like to wear more of it, but it's very hard to get hold of a good green. So I have a few pieces. But I would say anything in my work, blue comes to the forefront and pinks. And ironically, though, in my business brand colours, it's more of the pinks, the greys, and me wearing the blues. So is it important that I feel happy in it?
Yes, and I always say that you are not your brand. Your brand can have its own identity and it can stand with its own colors and its own voice, but your message and what you feel confident in is going to be a little different. And you just proved my point, because you said you love your red lipstick with a black outfit, and red is an indulgence color. It's an alluring color that you want more, you're stimulated, and black is an illusion color. It creates this depth perception change that people respond really positively to. So it's just knowing what your colors say that helps you send out your message, that you know that you're showing up fully. And that's the important part, is knowing that you are being fully you in your messaging, in your outfit, in your colors, in your entire identity.
I love that. I also, if people are not, if they're not on YouTube, you've got these fabulous yellow glasses on that are so cool. They're so fun. For you, Heidi, what has been that mindset shift that you've been using to come into self-value? Because we're talking about the visual of the colours, but what happens in the mind? What would you suggest of that shifting more into a self-value behaviour, thoughts?
Well, it's still about visual. You have to visualize what you want. In Heidi's Advent Living, I teach the 4 foundations are hope, peace, joy, and love. And I feel that sometimes your mind shift doesn't happen because you don't have hope.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at peace. You don't see your future. And until you visualize what you could be, what you're meant to be, then that change is not going to happen.
So I would caveat in the fact that not everybody can visualize. I'm not great at visualization at all. What I'm very good at is feeling. The way that I'm made in human design, I am a 4/6 projector, and my manifesting needs to be in feeling anyway. It's how do I feel on my approach to get to where I want to get to, and how will I feel when I get to the thing that I want to get to. So I can have an idea about what I want to get to, but I might not be able to sit there and meditate and visualize what it looks like. When I try to do that, it stresses me out. It's too much detail to my human design. So it's better if I think about what do I want to feel on my route to that success, because we've got to work with our own nervous system and the way that we're designed, that we're not all made in the same way. Because I know so many people go, I can't visualize it. It really annoys me. Is that we're not all designed to feel like that. But we can have these intuitive hits of when we create those places of peace and that hope of what does it feel like when I have that? When I have more hope, when I have more peace, what does it feel like? I can often describe it as an open road with the roof down and the music on and the sun shining, and it's the sensation of freedom. Hence why it's called Rich, Sexy,
Yes.
and Free. That's why my brand is freedom. So
It's not just about seeing it, it's about feeling it in its emotions. You have to attach emotions to your goals, to what you want. Because if you're not emotionally invested, then it's not going to happen. And you have to encompass all of the senses as much as possible.
mhm,
It's not just a picture you paint.
mhm,
How does your body feel? How do you feel about yourself? How do you
mhm.
feel about how others see you? It's a bigger than just painting a picture.
It doesn't matter if you physically can't see it. It's if you can feel
Right.
the picture and also allow those intuitive hits through. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Rebecca, what would you say about that as regards to people coming to have transformation? Is this a big part of them knowing what they want?
I think too, it's all about listening to your inner wisdom, right? Because so many times people turn off their inner wisdom. You'll have things that show up time and time again in your life that's telling you you need to take care of yourself, or you need to do X, Y, and Z to have a better outcome in your life. And yet we say no to ourselves. So we shut it all down instead of saying yes to ourselves. Yes, we can invest in ourselves. Yes, we can take that trip that we've been putting off or whatever. But it's all about being present with really your authentic self so that you can get to the life that you want, that you can manifest the life that you want until you're present with what you really want and not just someone else's vision for you. Because we talk about visions, so many people have a vision of what they think they want because of their parents or because of their significant other or because of their, in your case, your partner, your business partner. And that's how it goes. So until we say, no, what matter as an individual and what our authentic self is telling us to do, we need to listen to it and embrace it so that we can get to that higher plane.
Absolutely. There's a great exercise called the 7 levels of why. And when you feel those intuitive hits, or when you have this desire for something and asking over and again, but why? Why do I want this? Because it's very important to say what you want. But sometimes, where is it coming from? Is it coming from a child's need? And what am I really trying to say? Because what do I want? It has to be the biggest question of your life, is what do I want? But really fundamentally is finding out, what do I need? What do I actually need? How do I get my needs met? And as you said, that brilliant thing, we have so many messages, don't we, of, yes, you're saying the partner. Yes, you're saying could be a business partner. Yes, it could be a husband, could be a wife, could be but it's also, we're so conditioned of ideas of what women should look like. As you talked about earlier, I starved myself and worked really hard to try and look like dot, dot, dot. I grew up in what was defined as the heroin chic era. And if I had listened to that, I would be very unhealthy. It was those designs of what society or what's fashionable. And as you say, if we're saying we want it because we want to fit in and we want to be accepted externally, you're never going to get what you want, ever. So yeah, I love that about saying what you want. But those intuitive hits seem to be a really important thing, listening to your intuition. Roxy, where does intuition show up, do you think, in business, and particularly in that sort of marketing and branding?
Yeah, it's very interesting that you were just saying, is like this idea of we decide what we want based on what we think other people want of us. And I was going off of this idea that I'm first generation American. My parents wanted the American dream. They wanted stability. And I have that. And I'm so grateful for that. But I want more. And they said, just keep your head down. Just focus on having a good job, paying the bills, be happy. And I said, happiness to me is more, is helping more, being more, sharing more. And the intuition in that is just saying that at some point, I need to know what more is.
Yeah.
Right? Why do I want more? Knowing how we create that more, what is going to be my American dream? And in order to reach that, it's connecting with like-minded people. It's hearing their stories. It's knowing where I see myself, what my community is, and how do I put myself out there? How do I be vulnerable? How do I accept that I'm not going to be good at everything, that it's going to take time, that you don't build an empire in a day, that, like Rebecca was saying, it's a transformation. It's going to take time, and I'm going to get there. And that's going to be my American dream. That's what I'm working towards. But just because my parents' vision for me might not be my vision for me doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it's not genuine and worth pursuing.
Absolutely. And I love that I often say that it's about the more. And as you say, what is the more? The more for you, I describe it often as your life brand, knowing, because as you said, it's my community. It's how am I showing up? It's how am I sharing? It's not I want the 7 figures because I'll be accepted. It's not I want the partner, the husband, I want to be married, I want to have 2.4 children because I'll be accepted. And as you say, the past is different. It's about, what do I want now? And because we have that luxury, we've never, even though individually people think, oh, I don't have very much, as a humanity, we've never been so abundant, ever. Which means there is this jumping off point of going, I get to have more, I get to be more. But of course, we then have to overcome that wonderful thing called guilt. And we should feel guilty for more, especially as women. I think that's a really hot topic. So who wants to talk about some guilt that they've had to overcome?
I'll start in on that one because I'm a big believer in saying yes, but for so many years, I never said yes to myself. Why? Because of the guilt, right? If I said yes to myself, I wasn't a good mother. If I said yes to myself, I wasn't a good wife. If I said yes to myself, maybe I was neglecting something at work. And so I think people need to realize that just because you're saying yes to yourself, it shouldn't come with any guilt. And I think we get that as children. We are taught to, oh, you have to share. Or you can't tell someone no, you've got to people please. And that's the way we're brought up. And I think you have to start to say, no, I do matter. And what I want matters. And I can say no and not have to feel guilty. And then that makes saying yes all the more better, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting. I was a child and family therapist for a long time, and it's important to teach good behavior. I wonder if the teaching of the sharing thing is, do boys get it as much as girls of being good? And also, we are naturally generous. As human beings, when we have an abundance, we naturally want to share. It's in our nature. Unless you're a sociopath, you naturally want to share. You are a herd animal. Humans are herd animals. We are mammals to our core, and we're herd based. So we do want to share. But I do think women, hormonally, unfortunately, when we are influxed by estrogen's whole purpose is that we look to take care of everybody else. Its whole design is that we are meant to take care of everybody else until you go through these shifts, particularly with the menopause, of where we get to go, oh, hello, hello, I exist. But I think there's also a social programming that hasn't helped. Women have so many layers of being told you're a good woman if you're taking care of everybody. You're honored in books and films because she put everybody else first. The fact that she was dying inside and had no life and felt rageful, but a perfect facade. So I think it's a very interesting thing. But Heidi, where have you overcome guilt?
It's been a huge thing, like you said, with saying no, you feel guilty. And I think even guys feel the same way too, because everybody's, people pleasers. We want to make other people happy naturally. And when you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. And so if I want to say yes for myself, sometimes I have to say no to other things. And I have to recognize and appreciate that I'm not being negative. I'm not saying no to them because it's because I don't have the time. I have to prioritize my life so that I am living my best life so I can give my best to others.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, it is about that. How can I give my best? My overflow, isn't it? When we give from empty, you just give empty. It's you're just giving shit anyway. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, do you? But guilt, it's always been that thing, particularly as a spiritual teacher, as an energy healer. I had such a Jesus complex of I'm here to crucify myself over and over again. I'm only here for the benefit of others. And of course, eventually, that means I repeated that journey of burnout many times, particularly in business, because I couldn't work that out. Yes, but I'm here to serve God. I'm here to serve people. And yes, I am from my state of loving myself. That's the point. It's the journey of love thyself first. And then I have so much more because I matter as much as everybody else. Not that I matter less than everybody else. So yeah, I think it's such a great subject. Roxy, do you have anything to share around the guilt you have had to overcome?
I do, and I want to build off of that. Is there's this phrase that I heard a while back and it always stuck with me, is that if a man wants to make more money, he gets a promotion, he gets a better job, he changes his job. If a woman wants to make more money, she should stop spending. And I always thought about that. And I'm like, no, I want to go get the new job, the better job, be the breadwinner. But there is this mentality that is old, but it still lingers, that men are the breadwinners. They're going to go, they're going to get the new job if they want to be more prestigious, whatever it may be. Why can't we do the same thing? Why is ours stop spending or be more humble? So in 2025, I made my mantra for the year, be selfish. And my husband said, isn't that a bad mantra? Isn't it supposed to be something like positive and hopeful and helpful? And I said, no, that's the most helpful thing I can tell myself right now is be selfish. Don't put everyone else's needs above what I need to do for me. So that's been my year so far, is putting the guilt aside and focusing on me.
I love that. And that's interesting because you've just got married. And so you're in a new phase whereas most people think that's the honeymoon period. And of course, it's so easy to merge when you're in that beginning. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But absolutely, you've still got to find space and time for yourself, because it breeds nothing but resentment if you don't love yourself. I talk about this all the time, but rich, sexy, and free. The sexy part is the key between the rich life and the free life. It is all about loving yourself, falling in love with yourself, having that vibrant energy, caring about yourself, thinking you're sexy as fuck, working with your own energy to be the best version of yourself, because without that, you can't have a rich life and you can't be free to be you. I hope that the audience understands that anywhere that they have guilt is only beneficial if you're feeling bad for hurting another human being truly because you've done something terrible, and has a benefit in the fact that stops you from being a sociopath and a psychopath because you have guilt. But that's it. But then there are right environments that, as a mother, if someone was going to harm your children, you would protect to the inch of your life. But that guilt that's been placed on you, that's conditioning. That's conditioning. And I think women, unfortunately, men do have their own, but I think women are deeply ingrained for a very long time. It's a great way of controlling women. As you say, don't spend, don't do more, don't go out and have more, don't want more, don't speak up. There's so much of that, even though I do think there is a wonderful shift. But I truly do believe that every woman has their part in it, to own themselves, to take that power back and say, actually, it's not guilty for loving myself, thinking about myself. I'm interrupting this amazing podcast episode because I must tell you about my new and beautiful space called Loved, that does exactly what it says in the name. It is a sanctuary for women to reconnect with that infinite source of love within themselves, so that they can come to having a deep, loving, unconditional relationship with themselves. We all know that rich, sexy, and free, that the sexy element is the magnetic bridge between the rich and free life that you deeply desire. That life where you get to fall madly in love with yourself, create your life, attract those loving interactions, so you feel so deeply loved every single day by yourself, by the universe, by the people that you meet, so that every interaction and connection leaves you feeling rich to your core. That does also include money and opportunities, but above all, that you're getting to be seen and heard and living fully unapologetically. Loved is a free space for you to come and join, a community. We are kicking it off with a free 3-day immersion to really activate you moving into feeling loved on a deep level, become more magnetic and fall madly in love with yourself. And this immersion is going to stay free inside the group. So it doesn't matter when you join, you can still access it. Exciting? I know. All you have to do to join the group is head on over to richsexyandfree.com. So one of the best questions I love asking on this is, what is your favorite tool that you do to love yourself, to align yourself, to feel that self-value, to raise your value?
I'll go. So my favorite tool is, like I talked about earlier, is listening to your inner wisdom. And for me, it's just a personal relationship that I have with God. And I talk to him or her on a daily, all the time, and just learning to listen when that inner wisdom comes in and says, hey, you need to be doing this, or have you thought about this, or maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And it's all about really listening, I think, and being present with your higher being. And that's my biggest tool.
Do you have a way of doing that you use that helps you to do that?
It's just a prayer. And for me, it's just constant prayer, really, just always throughout my day. It really helps me get clear on a lot of things too. Like if I'm really stressing out about something, I can just say a prayer and say, show me what I need to be doing in this instance. And I've gotten to where immediately get an answer. I think it's because I've trained myself to really be still and listen. It's like the Bible, be still.
Yeah,
And I think that it's just a critical thing to help you in those times. So that's my tool.
And I love that, because that conversation with anybody is a process of speaking and listening, and being an active listener. I think is one of the biggest bits that gets missed out in anything of a spiritual teaching, that people assume it's meditation, but actually just quietening your mind and getting your conscious out of the way and allowing ways to distract you so that the information can come in. And I truly believe probably the reason it comes so fast for you is because you have shown over and over again that you trust it. And when you trust it, it comes louder, it comes clearer. But I think when you don't trust it, when you think, oh no, that can't be right, and oh, that sounds like my own voice, and that can't be God, and we put all these doubts up. I had a wonderful insight this morning. I cold water swim. This is one of the things I do and I communicate with God when I'm there. But I was feeling all a bit funky and a bit knotted, and sometimes I have to release some emotional stuff that's blocking the channels. And I put it all down, and I went for a swim, and I did all that, and I sent up a kind of like, oh, give everything up to you. Well, give me the clarity, whatever I need at this point. And when that happened, when I came out, this was early this morning, when I came out, I was driving home, and it was like, ding, insight. I jotted everything down, and then I will come back to it.
I'll speak on my tool of trial and error, because if you don't try, you don't know. And I think this goes back to like childhood sports that a lot of us can relate to. If you don't shoot, you can't make a shot, you can't score. So just I chalk it up to being naive or too bold or too loud or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I'll go out and try. I will reach out to people. I will put myself out there, and I say, it didn't work. I'm new at this. Oh, try again next time, tomorrow, whatever. And as long as I'm out there trying and putting myself and my genuine self out there, there's always a lesson learned. And there is no error in learning. I always know for the next time. So I always say the best tool I have is just trial and error. Just keep trying until something sticks, till you shoot that goal and you get it in.
I really like that. I like your energy about that, because other people can feel quite weary about trial and that they've been doing it. And I think when you get attached to it, it's the fact that you said you were playing naivety, that it's just a game. It's just a game, and it's fun, and I try it, and sometimes I win, and sometimes I just learn data. I don't think you ever fail. I think you gain information and data that helps you adjust and get better at it and focus at something else. But the key part in the way that you were describing it, Roxy, and I really hope that's the way that you're doing it, is that lightness about it. I went out there and I put myself out there. I remember being like that in my 20s. And I remember how my life, I just thought, oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Oh, I'll go do that. And I would say I'm reclaiming that. I think that since going through some grief and things like that, I'm really honing for that to get again, because I think at times I felt battered by trialing and giving and not getting the outcome that I wanted. But actually, when we come back to that playfulness, it's just, oh, fuck it, why not? Let's try that. I have in my millionaire mindset program, I have a whole thing called fuck it. And it is because it's that attitude of fuck it, why not? That's what millionaires do. When you have an abundance, you're like, fuck it, I'll give that a go. I'll try that. And I'm like that when I travel. That's who I am when I'm traveling. It's much more, I could try that, I could do that, I could try that. I love dreaming about, and I used to do it a lot when I was younger. I was like, I could try that. And I have an example of that. At the end of last year, I thought, oh, why not? I went into this modelling agency thing that came up, and I said yes, and why not? And I've ended up being signed for the year for a modelling agency. I didn't even see that coming. But I thought, fuck it, why not? Let's give it a go. I said yes, they landed in. I kept having a go, and here we are. So, yeah, I love that. That is such a great for people that when maybe they felt a bit weary about it, get innocent about it again. Get playful about it again. Be naive and just think, why not? What's the worst that happens? Give it a go and put your authentic self out. As you said, it's your authentic self.
And I've also learned that you are the expert in your field, something really well, but you're not going to know everything else. So everything else you're trying is a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Someone else out there is going to be better than you are. But the only way to learn is to put yourself out there, to try to fuck it and give it a shot.
It works so beautifully with what Rebecca was saying. When you do it from that place of alignment, of listening to your inner wisdom, there's less doing spaghetti up against the wall. You're not just blindly doing it. I think when you learn to really listen to yourself and then put yourself out authentically out there, you're going to start seeing the results. And I think that's the thing. You've got to do it with the alignment as well as the joy, as well as the innocence, as well as the naivety. And then you get more results because you're aligned with yourself. There's no failure. There's only, oh, we're on this path. Oh, we're adjusting this way. Oh, no, here we are. We're coming. You get better and better at it, don't you? I think that's gorgeous. So Heidi, what's your tool?
I think, like Roxy said, you just have to do it, because people struggle with anxiousness, because there is the label anxiety, but then people experience anxiety as well. And I think it's the anxiety that builds up because your fear gets in front of you and you're afraid to say what you really believe, what you want to say. And so you don't say it, and then you just beat yourself up and you go round and round. But I think as a tool, though, one of the things, of course, prayer definitely is a tool that I utilize, but also writing things down. And I've actually done something called vision writing to God. And you write, and it seems weird, but once you start doing it, it's, oh my gosh, what you start with, what you think you're going to write about. And then by the time you're done, you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And you just allow yourself. I never considered myself a writer. I'm a math person and a science person, not writing. But once I've started doing that and just allowing myself to flow freely, I think that's the biggest thing right there, is that our anxiousness, our fear stops us and holds us back. And if we just do all those things, pray about it. When you really know something, own it. I remember one time in a meeting, I shared what I thought, and we didn't go with that. But then guess what? They remembered that I'd spoke up later on, and they said, you were right. And I was thankful for that, because I did go ahead and I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I beat myself up because, man, that was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. And, we do that all the time. But the more you speak up and the more you practice using your voice, finding your voice is huge. Whether you do that verbally, whether you do that just with yourself, start with yourself, like talk in the mirror, talking to God, writing it out, what have you. You've got to find your voice and you got to use it.
I'm a big fan of that. I also believe it's a big way of overcoming trauma. I have a technique called the reflection technique, which helps people to really get in touch with healing so that they don't have to go through therapy for years on end. But it is finding your voice. I was a blogger for a long time. It was a big part of how I became a writer, how my books got published, because I was trying to tell a story and I was trying to find my voice. And I think writing is a great way of finding your voice. First, as you write out, what am I trying to say? I've recommended it many times to couples to express what they're trying to say to each other when they're getting tongue-tied, because we have so much of that. As you said, you were like, oh my God, I've said the wrong thing. And what we get into is the child in us who's going, Daddy and Mummy are going to tell me off. No one's going to like me and I'm being rejected and chucked out of the house and they'll never love me again. And they'll think I'm having a tantrum and they'll think I'm being too emotional and all of that. And none of it's real. And what you learn as you have those moments, the first time I ever told anybody to fuck off, came out of me. Like, it came out of me. It was the first time I had finally got to that point. I was responding as I'm supposed to in the moment. Not something I thought about, bottled up. It was a totally appropriate, right response to another human being. At that moment, he had got up in my face and I responded. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, oh, my whole nervous system was going. But I knew, because I knew what I knew and I knew what I knew as an expert, I was like, I have finally freed myself from trauma, because I am responding as I am designed to in the moment, not from a place of, I wasn't over the top. I wasn't aggressive. I simply said it exactly an adult is supposed to in that moment. But it takes time to get to that point, and it takes time to be okay with your power to own your voice. But as you say, beautiful ways of doing it. Yes, in conversations with God, absolutely, in conversations of writing, finding your way, and that between that conversation internally and externally of expressing yourself, I think is absolutely so powerful. All these ways of stepping into your value. For our last thing to explore, Heidi, you brought up that expression of life happens. And I would like people's opinions on that, because I don't believe life just happens. So I would like to see what others think about how you approach it, or what you believe about life just happens.
I'll hop right in there and say, I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. I ended up in Chicago. Didn't see that one coming, but it opened up the door to opportunities. And I think it's choice. We choose what to do with what we're given.
Mm-hmm.
So God has a plan for us. Things are happening, things are flowing. And if we decide to notice them, if we decide to act on them, if we respond to what is happening, that is our choice. But everything around us happens for a reason. And if we decide to interact with it or take it, that's what I was saying earlier about just take a chance. If something lands in your lap and you just say, not now, maybe in a year. We don't know what's going to happen in a year from now. We don't know what life looks like. So when life happens, to me, that's saying, jump, take the chance, take the opportunity, see that God has put this in front of you, see that life has made this happen, and take that opportunity. So I see everything as an opportunity to make something greater and abundant happen.
Fabulous. What a very positive point of view. What else have we got?
Life happens, right? It does happen. People don't set out to get a chronic illness. Yeah, it happens. It's depending upon genetics and many other different factors. But it's what you do when you are faced in that moment. It's what you do to move past the obstacle that maybe life has put in your way at the time, to say, I can deal with it this way and make my life better and still live the life that I want. Yes, life happens, and it happens to everyone, and it's how you choose to deal with it determines how successful you are.
It's interesting because you're almost saying the same thing but differently, because of course we are saying there are opportunities, but there's also challenges and obstacles that we have to overcome. It's how we show up. Heidi, what would you say?
Of saying life happens, that's a little more shit happens. And we have to make the best of it. You can either just let stuff happen to you and you're just like, woe was me, what I'm going to do now? Or you just take the reins and you move forward and you say, okay, that happened, but I'm going to still do this, or that does not deter me. What is your plan? What are the goals for your life? What is your purpose? What is your passion? You cannot allow life to interfere with that. You have to keep your eyes straight ahead, focused on what you want in life. And yeah, stuff's going to happen. Things are going to come flying at you. You can't control. But how you respond, like Rebecca said, you have to respond to them. And sometimes no response is a response. You just ignore it and keep on chugging.
I love that. I'm going to put in my two penneth worth. So as someone who deeply believes in how you manifest your creation, I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm putting my spin on it. So I truly believe we have the capacity to be in charge of not just how we show up, but I visualize it as being like a surfer, how balanced you are in yourself. So the power and everything we can control is internal. So where our mind is, where our thoughts are, where our energy is, where we're balanced, how we're showing up. And yes, we can alter what shows up in our lives because we're listening, because we're balanced. But then life will give us bigger waves and little waves. So we're going to get those moments, and how we see it. So the first thing I would ever change in my mind is that life doesn't just happen. Shit doesn't just happen. It's, was I listening earlier? No. It got louder. I started with a small little wave telling me something's wrong. And actually, chronic means exactly that. It means I wasn't listening. It became chronic. It became a big wave. So I think as we become more, and it's everything I've written about, everything I've talked about, it's the same thing I've been talking about for 30 odd years, it is that as we become less of being like an empty tire on your vehicle, where you're going to hit every bump in the road, and that really feels like life's just happening at me, ouch. As we become more pumped up, more expanded, more abundant in our energy, in our mindset, in our belief, in our attitude, in our positivity, in our faith, in our hope, in our peace, the road becomes less affecting to us. There could be just as many bumps, but we just don't notice them. But we also have the capacity, as Abraham Hicks talks about, we actually have the capacity to remove the bumps, because we're less aware of them, but we don't attract them, because it's no longer in our belief system to say, I have to keep fighting every shit thing that comes into my world, because it's no part of me anymore. It's actually, I get to live in a happier, more joyful, expansive world. So I do believe it can get better. And I believe that the mindset of when we think everything is out of our control. Of course, there's lots of things that are out of our control. I totally get that. But I do think we have the capacity to adjust our own energy field. Today has been a juicy conversation, so powerful, with so much information and tools in here. Ladies, please tell people where they can find you at your best home. Roxy, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram is the best way to follow us and get all the tips and tricks when it comes to branding and color. That's Hearts to Headlines on Instagram, but also at our website, heartstoheadlines.com.
Lovely. Thank you. Rebecca?
You can find me on Amazon. My books are Thrilling Escapes, Exotic Escapes, and Transformative Escapes. I'm working on my 4th book now about slow travel in Tuscany. My website is called transformativeescapes.com. You can email me via info@transformativeescapes.com as well.
Perfect. Heidi, where is the best place that they can find you?
Both Instagram and Facebook, as well as Heidi's Advent Living.
Brilliant. Lovely. All the links are in the show notes and below. Ladies, it's been an absolutely lovely discussion. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming today. It's been great to connect with you today. But before you leave, if you want to find out more about how I can help you personally, or check out any of my books, products, or coaching packages, just simply go ahead and visit richsexyandfree.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the podcast.